We're going to give it about 2 more minutes before we get started so that we can get everybody on that wants to be on.
I'm jealous. I didn't get the memo on the new background, but it looks pretty sweet, guys.
I think it's probably in your inbox, but we'll see.
Oh. I'm on another Zoom. So it looks awesome.
Ryan did a nice job with it. I took Adam's hard work and put it together. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending today's virtual press conference. We have some exciting news to share with you, so we're going to get right to it. Before we do that, just want to put a couple of rules in place. Please raise your hands to be unmuted. Any messages or any questions that come through the chat, we will try to get to right away in the order that they arrive. When you ask your questions today, please identify yourself and what outlet you are with. That will help us. The folks that we have that will be speaking today will be Dan DeRose, President of Friends of Football in Pueblo, Rhonda Blanford-Green, Commissioner of the Colorado High School Activities Association, and Adam Bright, the Assistant Commissioner in charge of football for CHSAA. They will be speaking, and we'd like to let them get their thoughts out first, and then we will open it up for Q&A. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Dan DeRose, President of the Friends of Football.
Thanks, Bert. And thank you for everyone to joining us today. We got some great news. Friends of Football has been hosting the 2A and 3A championships the last 2 years. And this year, when the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame felt it wasn't feasible to host 4A and 5A at Mile High because of the pandemic, and they tried their hardest to make it happen, and it just wasn't feasible. CHSAA and Friends of Football had a discussion about the possibility of hosting 1A through 5A in Pueblo over championship weekend. And we went to work on a variance. As you know, we have to have a variance from the state of Colorado to have an outdoor sporting event with any kind of seating that's, would make the event worthwhile. So we went to work on that variance proposal, and the entire community of Pueblo came together. We had some great support from our county commissioners, Garrison Ortiz and Chris Wiseman, our mayor, Nick Gradisar, our local director of our Pueblo Health Department, Randy Evitz, Paul Plinsky, the athletic director of the university, and Lee Meisner out of my office actually drafted the variance request. Pueblo had only done one other variance request and that was for the Pueblo Zoo. So there wasn't a lot of templates around. The Broncos had done one and been successful in getting their 5,700, 5,800 fans that they were allowed to get on their variance. As I said, we submitted the proposal on the 13th of October. We received an approval letter on the 4th of November, which is a contingent letter. It's based on the level that we're at in the pandemic at the time. Where we sit today is it allows us about a 17% capacity of the ThunderBowl, which equates to about 1,400 fans, 700 fans a side or per team. If we go to orange, that number will go down a little bit. If we go to red, then there'll be no fans, but we're hoping that we maintain our level where we're at, even though we've all been experiencing spikes as of late. We really couldn't have pulled this off in Pueblo, and I want to announce as well, and I know Adam's going to give you the details, but we're also going to have 6-man and 8-man. So all 7 championships in 2020 will be held at the Neta and Eddie DeRose ThunderBowl on the campus of Colorado State University Pueblo. And Adam will give you the details and the times. We have 5 local sponsors that have really made this possible and have stepped up because, there could be no revenue coming in, but they helped us underwrite the event. And that is Spradley Motors, Legacy Bank, Pepsi, the Parkview Medical Center, and the Robert H. Rawlings Foundation. So I just wanted a quick shout out to them. And I saw Tom Lawrence on the call, and Tom, thanks for joining. I know that with the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, we're going to try not to drop the ball. You guys have been doing such a great job with 4A, 5A, and this year we're going to try to fill the gap in, and then, hopefully we can have it back there next year. But that's just a quick, brief introduction. The last thing I'll say is, what is the Friends of Football? We're a 501c3. Our mission is to support the sport of football and to provide opportunities for student athletes of all ages, for team building and all the great aspects that come out of the sport of football. Our primary focus is at the Colorado State University Pueblo and supporting that Division II program. So thank you, Bert.
All right, thank you, Dan. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Rhonda Blanford-Green for her thoughts.
Thank you, Bert. I start off by saying that this event doesn't happen without the unanimous support of the Colorado High School CHSAA Board of Directors, who came together last night, and we presented them with the proposal. We presented them with all the bullet points and the positives and the pros of really looking at all 7 classifications at one site. And they voted unanimously yesterday in an evening meeting to allow us to bring this event to Pueblo and to provide our kids with, and I just don't say kids, to provide our fans, to provide our school communities, our officials with the state championship event. And so with their unanimous approval of moving forward, there's a lot of people that I would like to thank personally, one being Dan DeRose, CSU Pueblo, Friends of Football, and just getting through this season, the hard work that's been done by Adam Bright, Ryan Casey, and Bert Boardman. And it's been a collaborative effort, as you know, for this season. And then to know that we have a special place for a culminating event is just icing on a cake. And we're continuing to keep our fingers crossed. Dan so specifically said is we're watching dials for the next 3 weeks, and whether they go, we're hoping they go back to yellow, but we're planning around all of this. And so, Dan, I want to extend graciously our thank you to you, because our kids will have a high school culminating event. We hope it's with fans and all the cheerleaders and pep bands and everything that makes this day special, but we do know that we have a place to stay, a place to participate. So thank you to the Pueblo community and to your leadership. And I don't need to keep going because this is truly about the sport of football and the leadership that's come around. And so at this time, I would like to personally introduce our assistant commissioner that has overseen football and got us through and is getting us through season A, he and his assistant, Sam. So I'd like to turn it over to him because I think that what he has to offer is well around the specifics our media partners are looking for. So thank you to everyone. And we're looking forward to a great event, championship weekend for all classifications of football. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Rhonda. First off, I've got to say thank you to Dan DeRose and Wayne Gordon and the group with the Friends of Football. It's been a great partnership the last couple of years, and I appreciate you guys stepping in this time. We did everything we could with Tom Lawrence and the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, trying to fight for ways to get this done there. And when that finally wasn't going to be possible, we were able to jump onto Plan B. And I think that's what football in a pandemic is all about, is having Plan B, C, D, E. You name the letter, we've got that plan. And so thanks to those guys for doing that. Also, just CSU Pueblo, Dr. Plinsky, the athletic director there, Coach Riston with the football program, helping the last couple of years, and we'll be leaning on them again this year. The city and the county of Pueblo have stepped up and helped, as well as D60 and D70. The school districts in the Pueblo area have helped the last couple of years, and we're going to lean on them to pull this off as well. Looking at the setup of this championship weekend, we're going to have games on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so what we'll be looking at is playing our non-11-man games, so our 6-man game and 8-man game on Thursday at the stadium. The 6-man game will be at 2:00. The 8-man game will be at 6:00. We've added a little extra time between our games to make sure that we can stay within the confines of our COVID restrictions and how we get small groups in to change, how we make sure that we avoid contact between the two different teams coming in and leaving and the fans and those things. So we've had to add a little extra time between those two. Friday, then you'll have 2A and 4A. Those will also be at 2:00 for 2A, 6:00 for 4A. And then we turn around, we come back on Saturday. We're going to add a third game on Saturday. So we'll start 1A at 10 a.m. 3A would be at 2:00. 5A would be at 6:00. In doing this, what we have is we have sections. All of our tickets will be color coded. That'll tell them what section to go in. They'll also have a specific area for restrooms, concessions, as well as specific areas where they park. So we can make sure that we are keeping those cohorts together when they arrive until the time they leave. Contact tracing will be done with those ticket sales as well. So we can follow all of our COVID guidelines while still providing an excellent opportunity for all 7 classifications to play in a great venue. We're going to be able to be on the campus of a university playing in a national championship venue where we can have the turf field, the amazing sound system, the new video board that they got last year. All those things make this an experience. And while this year may not look exactly like it has in the past, we set out with the goal of giving our kids the opportunity to compete and to see if we could offer a culminating event. And what that's done is it's led us to this point, and I'm excited where we are and what this can look like for this year. And we'll do our best to make it the best experience, because I do believe that memories for our kids are tied to those great experiences. And at the end of the day, we're education-based athletics, and we want to teach life lessons, and those life lessons are going to be attached to those good memories. And I think this is one way for us to help establish a great memory, is to pull off an event like this in Pueblo with the Friends of Football, CSUP, and everybody involved.
Well, I think at this point we are ready for some Q&A. If you have a question for Adam or for Dan, please raise your hand, and we'll get you going right away. Looks like I have Jeff Latovsky.
You're muted, Jeff.
Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, appreciate it. This question's for Adam. Adam, it's been a trying season. How many games have we missed over the 6-week period has been canceled as far as high school football season. And then the second question is, realistically, how do you feel? I know it's, with the way we're going, it's a difficult thing. I know we've done a great job to get through this far.
I'm not sure about everybody else. I only got the first part of that question and it cut off after realistic. So I can answer the first part. Number of teams that have actually not found a game if their opponent was in quarantine has been less than 10 throughout this entire process. So we've been able to mix and match and play matchmaker the best we can to find everyone a game. And I'm excited we've been able to do that. It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of work on the part of our athletic directors and coaches, and really working the phones and the emails to find those games. I think overall, each week, the number of teams that have been in quarantine have been less than double digits until last week. It grew a little bit, but we've been staying right there in that general area where we've been less than 10% of our games have been impacted. In talks with other associations across the country, everyone is averaging 15 to 20% of their games are impacted weekly, and we've been below that number until this last week. So I think that the mitigation processes we put in place and the safety standards we put in place for our teams have made an impact, and we've been able to get through this 5 weeks going into week 6, and we'll cross our fingers that the next 3.5 weeks go smoothly and we can get to Pueblo and have these games.
Jeff, you want to ask that last half of your question again, please?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how realistic are you, Adam, about getting to that championship weekend, given the situation we're in and how things have gotten worse and worse?
Unless we are told by the State Department we're not playing football, we're going to have a championship game. If there's 2 teams in a bracket left to play, we're going to play. Hopefully that's in Pueblo. If that's in a parking lot somewhere, I bet you my 2 teams that are there will want to go play. We're going to crown a champion if it's at all possible. And my hope is that that's done at the ThunderBowl. But if it needs to be somewhere else, we'll find where that location is and let those teams kick the ball off and let's get after it. That's really where I feel like we're going to be at, is how do we roll with the punches is what we've done for 6 weeks now. And we're going to do that until the very end so we can make sure these kids get the opportunity they deserve.
Great. Thank you.
Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. If there are fans that are going to be at these games, say we don't go any higher on the COVID dial, who's going to get priority when it comes to tickets? Because I can imagine that the football players, the coaches, the fans, they won't be counted toward the 700 on each side. So where does priority for the tickets go?
Our plan with ticket sales, Carl, is Sunday after the semifinal games. They'll go on sale at gothunderwolves.com. That's the website for CSUP Athletics. They'll be available for all 7 games. Obviously, in our variance proposal, which, by the way, the state really gave us a lot of kudos and said our proposal was excellent, and the precautions and steps that we've taken to ensure the safety of all of our participants and fans was applauded. And you can imagine we were trying to get this approved as the spike was going up, and we fought through all that, and we still got approval. So I think that says a lot to what our plan is. Obviously, the priority is going to be the tickets are going to be for sale, and it's first come, first serve. We're going to try to communicate with the schools ahead of time. And if, let's say, for the 5A game, a school was interested in buying all 700 tickets, then they could do that. And then they could distribute those tickets how they see fit. And we would have to work with them on contact tracing and making sure that our seating and distancing, we're going to have pods. And within those pods, we're going to have certain areas where you can sit and can't sit. And we're having 50 feet between sections. And we didn't really drill down on this press conference. If people are interested in seeing the variance proposal, I'd be happy to share that with you. Just contact me offline. But the tickets will go on sale Sunday if we're not able to sell them to the team up front or to the school. And that's, again, at gothunderwolves.com. I
gotcha. And who is excluded from that 700 count? I know the football players and the referees are, but who else?
The 700 per the variance is the fans in the stands. So anyone on the field which will include the players, the coaching staff, cheer, and dance. They're not included in the 700. But anyone in the stands, not on the playing surface, is included in the 1,400. And we really have right now at the level we're at, we have a variance for 1,750. 350 of those seats would be on Thunder Hill. And since this is early December, we're kind of keeping that in our back pocket because, you know, we don't know if we're going to have snow or moisture, and you know, for people to sit on Thunder Hill would be little unrealistic. But if the weather looks like it's going to be nice and we have the demand, then that's something we could open up there at the last, you know. So we're keeping ourselves some back so we have a little bit of a cushion.
And we do have a little bit of time for the ticket sale piece too. So with the playoffs not started yet, we don't know exactly who's in yet. And when we get there, we will make sure there's a priority for those parents to be able to get in, and so that we can work with the schools to get those folks in there. But at a certain point, it does become open to the public if they're not all sold, so that we can make sure that fans of that school get there. But also we want to have opportunity for the folks in Pueblo and folks that like good high school football to come and be able to watch as well. So we will make sure that both sets of groups are able to get in and not just hope that our parents can get there. We'll work with the Friends of Football and our ticket people to make sure that we give priority to those folks, and then it'll go to the public there.
All right, Hart.
Can't hear you, Hart.
Can't hear you, Hart.
Can you hear me?
Now we can. Now we
Okay.
can.
So it's kind of a two-part question. One, just a clarification. If two teams are playing, let's say in the opening round, and one team has to quarantine due to a COVID situation, that team would have to forfeit to the other team, or it'd be considered a forfeit, correct?
Correct. So the way this will work is we'll release brackets on Sunday. We will send an email out to all of our schools that are in the top 12 on Thursday, confirming that as of Thursday afternoon, they are able to play next week. So they're not in quarantine or would be off of quarantine in time to play next week. Not knowing exactly how it's going to shake out, we're going to send it to 12, not knowing exactly who may jump up from 10 and number 8 and those things based on games this week. Once we have confirmation that they are able to play, they will go on the bracket if they do qualify as a top 8. Once you're placed on the bracket, if you go into quarantine at any time, it does become a forfeit, and the team you are going to play advances to the next round and would be set up there. I know the question that came up yesterday was, what if that happens in a championship game? We'll invite that team down. We'll hand them a trophy in the middle of the field there in Pueblo. There won't be a competition at that classification because we're not going to bring somebody up that has already lost in the previous round to compete in the championship game.
Right. The second part, you know, this is just hypothetical. What if there's a situation where both schools that are scheduled to play have a COVID situation? Is there a fail-safe for that as well?
No, so there would not be somebody advancing from that round. So the person on the other side of the bracket would have that round solidified, or if that were to take place in the championship game, there would not be a championship game that's played in that classification, as both teams are not able to participate at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Yep.
that was a positive question there, Hart. Appreciate it.
Wow.
Kyle Frederickson from the Denver Post has a question.
Hey, just a quick one for Adam here. When it comes to teams that have not played enough games to qualify for the playoffs, do you guys have a number of or percentage of those teams? I know there's still games to be played, but just how many teams are at risk of not being able to qualify just because of missed games?
I don't know that number off the top of my head. Ryan may be able to look that up before we're done here via Max Preps and see. But I know in looking at our seeding index, I don't see anybody there that doesn't have at least 3 games. So their 4th game this week would be right there. So I think everybody that you've got in your top 12 to 15 is going to be eligible at this point, pending what happens this week. There are a few schools that have had to go into quarantine and then missed a game, so they're only going to be at 3. But I can also tell you the number of phone calls and texts and emails that I get on a daily basis. They are working as hard as they possibly can to find games. And so we're doing that till 10 or 11 o'clock at night every night, trying to help people find games. So I don't have that exact number, but I would say I don't see a lot of schools that are in danger of that at this point. But then it is also only Wednesday at 1:25. So I don't know what happens between now and Saturday at 10 o'clock when games are done. So there is an outside chance we have somebody that needs this fourth game that may not get it, but we'll need to just kind of watch the scoreboards and watch the cancellations and see where we land on that.
Any other questions? Oh, Austin, go ahead, bud.
Hey, Adam. It's Austin White from the Pueblo Chieftain. But now my question is, sorry, another kind of two-parter for you. But
Okay.
now, obviously, where we're at as a whole state, a lot of counties, pretty much every county seeing upticks. What's kind of the plan if, a county does face a stay-at-home order and, a team doesn't have a COVID case, but, their county says they got to stay at home? Like, is there still a variance for them to be able to play football?
Everything at this point would be up to their county health departments and their local health departments and what they're allowed to do and not do. So if a county steps in and overrides any variance that's out there and says they're not able to participate, then that would be the unfortunate situation that school will be faced with, is that their local governing authority has said they cannot participate.
And obviously Pueblo County has this variance, and if Pueblo County was to lose this variance, is there a backup location in mind? What's kind of the strategy there? If Pueblo
that's kind of where I kind of go back to earlier, that if we get to that worst case scenario, I mean, I'll strike my backyard if I have to. We'll find a place for the play. That's really what that plan becomes, is we will continue to fight until we find a location that can hold our games. We want to do everything we possibly can to give them the opportunity to settle it on the field and have a championship and have an overall season A champion declared in each classification. And that may look different than what it looks like right now. We will. I can tell you this: we'll know by about 10 o'clock on Saturday, December 5th, who our champions are. I just can't tell you where we're going to crown them, but my hope and my goal is that we're doing it there in Pueblo.
Lindsay from the Gazette.
Hi, I'm Lindsay from the Gazette. I was just wondering if anybody could possibly expand on the conversations you guys had with the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, how it went in terms of, trying to figure out variances for Mile High, and then what the conversation was like to finally get things solidified at CSU Pueblo.
Sure. What I'll do is Tom, if you're okay with this, I'll turn this over to Tom Lawrence, who's actually with the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame on the call with us. And so you can hear directly from those guys as to the work that went into this and partnering with the Broncos and the stadium and the things, and he can explain some of how that process went. Tom?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can, Tom. Please let everybody there know your formal title so that they can use it if they're attributing a quote.
I'm the president and CEO of the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. And we tried everything we could to still be able to host the games this year, and it saddens us that we couldn't. But the biggest thing was just the mere cost that of the health protocols that the governor's put out to have here at Mile High Stadium, and basically our costs at the stadium would have doubled, because in a normal year, at the price point, ticket price point, in a normal year, we need about 9,000 in attendance just to break even. And with the additional costs, that would have probably doubled. As a side note, and the Broncos aren't even sure, and they got a special variance to have 5,700 fans a game through the rest of the year. They're not even sure they're going to be able to finish the season out having fans. The governor may shut it down at some point where they can't even have any fans. So let's say we could have done, and thank God, Dan DeRose, who sits on my board of directors, and we work close together, even going back 2-3 years ago, so that Dan could get the 2A and 3A games going down at CSU Pueblo. But it was great that Dan could step in and we figure this out so the kids would have a place to play. But even if we would have had a variance of 1,700 fans at Mile High, it just is totally cost prohibitive. could not have done it. So as we've stated, we sure hope, and hopefully things will be back to some kind of normalcy by this time next year, and we can host it next, I believe, December 4th in 2021, and get back on track again. So it's just simply the cost, because when the cost, all the protocols you'd have to go through, even if we could have had 5,700 fans, and that was not a given because that was specifically for the Broncos. You have to spread those 5,700 fans through all 5 levels of the stadium. In a normal year, we limit that just to the lower bowl, and so that reduces your costs. But yeah, we trust me, I'm very sad, because that is a day that we and all of my board members, everybody looks so forward to being there, and I know the coaches feel the same way. And but things are what they are, and so we do the best we can. And thank goodness Dan and his folks out in Pueblo were able to find a place to play where we couldn't do it here.
Thank you, Tom. Stephen Vetter from the I-70 Scout.
Yeah, I apologize if this was asked earlier, but in the case that a higher seed wants to maybe travel to a lower seed because of like capacity and all that stuff, is that asking? Because I know in Adams County there are no spectators allowed right now. So in the case of the higher versus lower seed traveling, is that going to be an issue at all, or is that going to be addressed?
We're going to do what's best for all of our student athletes. And if there's a game that needs to be moved because we've got an empty stadium versus a stadium that can have parents and fans and friends and family and all those things, we'll do that. We're not going to be rigid enough to say the game has to be played at this location at this time. If there's a better scenario that is best for both sides, let's look at that better scenario. Unfortunately, that's kind of what this year is we've got to make the best decision we can for all those involved. A lot of times we've got to do it on the fly, but we'll be involved in that process and making sure that we give equal access to both teams and make sure that it's a good experience.
Jeff, I know you had I think you had a follow-up question. Jeff Latofsky.
Yeah, Jeff Latofsky from the Chieftain again. This is Dan DeRose. Obviously, Dan, it's a big day for Pueblo, and just wanted to get your comment on how proud are you of your friends of football and the entire community that came together to put this together. Just get a comment on from that.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, the tone of the questions has been kind of negative, and I'll tell you, in Pueblo, we're positive. We got a can-do attitude. The pandemic's going to end. We're going to get back to regular life, and we're going to do our little part by hosting these 7 games of pushing us along that path, because we are going to play football. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to have a great experience for these families and these young student athletes, and it's going to be a day that they'll remember. So we're excited about it, and that's the attitude we took. People told us, oh, don't apply for the variance. There's not a chance. We said, okay, we're going to apply. We applied. Then they said, well, there's no way you're going to get it. Well, we got it. And now they say, well, there's no way you're going to be able to hold it. We're going to hold it. And that's as simple as it's going to be. So it's going to happen. We're excited about it happening. We'll have to overcome 3 or 4 hurdles every day, but we'll continue to do that. And, the great thing about the Friends of Football is that we're all volunteers. Nobody gets paid. Nobody makes a dime. And we have true intentions for this whole endeavor. And I think that's why it's being blessed a little bit, is that we're doing it for the right reasons, and we're going to make it happen.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
We'll go back to Austin White.
Boy, I'll keep things positive this time.
Good.
Adam, I had a question for you. Obviously there's been talk from CHSAA about basketball, trying to get everything in one weekend. Now you're going to have it all one weekend in football. So just, can you talk about, how cool it will be to, kind of be a test run here, see if, maybe this is something you could bring to Mile High next year if you want to do it all on the same weekend again?
Honestly, I just want to get through the next 3 weeks and get this one done. I can't talk about what next December looks like because I'm worried about what November 12th looks like at this point. It's going to be a good trial run to see what it looks like. There are other states that do this, and so this isn't a model that's completely brand new to members of the NFHS. It's our turn to roll it out there as a piece of necessity, and we'll get through it. And then we'll take some of the things that we learn and see if there are lessons learned that we can apply to future years, certainly. But I think it's focusing on, let's get through these 7 games in those 3 days, enjoy our time in Pueblo, get a slopper or two, and just have fun down there. And then we'll worry about next year when it's time to worry about. We got a spring season we got to worry about before we get to next year. So we've already talked. We're interested in doing this exact same setup in the spring as well. So our teams that are playing in the spring season can also be looking forward to going to Pueblo and having those games at the same location. So yes, I can say we're going to do this again. It'll just be in May instead of the December timeframe you're looking at, because we're going to do the same model come springtime.
Lindsay has another question.
Just talking about some of the pregame. I'm sorry, I think my internet is a little unstable. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. Just talking about some of the lead up to individual games, should we expect the same kind of, press conferences a few days before the games, held at the locations to get to know some of the coaches and players, or is that still in the works?
No, that's something we've actually talked about, that we'd want to do something similar to what we're doing now. We would have 14 coaches on here, plus some folks there in Pueblo and from our office, so we could try to do something similar so we can get some of the storylines. We're not going to drive to Pueblo and be able to do it there face to face, but we do want to do that to give you guys opportunity to talk to those coaches and learn about some of those great stories, and also get some information about how plans have gone and how excited we are to actually be there on campus and ready to go.
Any other questions? Just as a reminder to everybody, all 7 championship games will be streamed on the NFHS network, and look for an announcement in the coming 10 days on a radio partner for the event as well. And so with that, I appreciate your attendance. I know Dan DeRose, Rhonda Blanford-Green, Adam Bright, all appreciate that. Tom Lawrence, thanks for stepping in and being a part of this as well. With that, we will move on and start getting our plans ready to go for the football championships on December 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
And just so everybody knows, our brackets will come out Sunday. So we'll finish our games on Friday and Saturday, and we'll have the brackets for all classifications released Sunday afternoon.
And you should all have received a press release on this event as part of the announcement of the press conference. So that is noted on the bottom of that press